Alright, beautiful people. Beautiful people, beautiful people. Let me see here. Send out some notifications to the Discord. We are live. We're streaming a little bit late tonight, so we definitely got to send out those notifications because nobody saw this stream coming. Alright, let's see here. Go ahead and get that turned on. Let's see if I can make it a little bit brighter in here. Hit the lights. Maybe? A little bit brighter? There we go. Actually, let's see. Let's test that. Yeah, that does. Okay. Yeah, that does help a bit. Turn that back on then. PJ, good evening. What's up, PJ? Yeah, dude, this is a late one. It's almost midnight here. It's almost midnight here, so we're getting a late start today. Let's see if I can go ahead and pull those comments up. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. Alright, let's check this. Gotta make sure everything's in order. How you doing, PJ? How's your day been, dude? Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna switch screens real quick just to see if I can get the chat working. Sometimes you gotta like refresh it a bit. Sometimes you gotta refresh it a bit. Alright, where's my... There it is, okay. I mean, it should be working. It should kick in. Bedtime for me, wake up time for you. Pretty much, dude. Pretty much. Pretty much. I always try to do the streams a lot earlier than this. There goes the chat, finally working. I always try to do the streams a lot earlier than this, but we're getting a late start today, so. Alright, just one day at a time, you know. Yep. I feel you. I feel you. Alright, guys, we're going to get started in just a minute. We're going to give a few minutes, let some people get in here. Anxiety recovery, it may not feel like it's working in the moment. Now, this is something that we've been talking about pretty heavily the past few days. You know, just because it's such a common pitfall. It's such a common pitfall that I see in the community. A lot of people expecting that instant gratification. You know, they start using acceptance. They start taking a step back and accepting their thoughts and feelings instead of fighting with them, and they really crave that instant gratification, which I completely understand. I get it. I wish it worked that way, right? I wish it did work that way. So I get it, but it is a very common pitfall because as soon as they don't get that instant gratification, right, it's straight back to the bad old habits. So in today's stream, we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that topic and really try to drive it home for people so they don't make that mistake. I made that mistake plenty of times myself, and I would just hate to see other people make it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give it a minute or two, though. Try to let some people get in here. I'm going to drop the link to the stream. Let me see. Pull that up real quick. Not to the stream, to the Discord. What am I thinking? Expire after never. Generate new link. Copied. Let's drop that in the live chat real quick. There we go. There we go. That should pop up for you guys in just a moment. Completely free to join us on the Discord. Some people claim that the YouTube notification bell works just fine. Other people hate on it, so I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that I try to remember to always notify my Discord chat every single time that I go live. So if that notification bell is letting you down, all right, and you want to join us on Discord just for that reason, just to get those notifications for the live streams, feel free to do that. You don't even have to chat if you don't want to. All right, guys, let's see. We're about, what, 4 minutes into this thing? Oh, no, you know what I forgot to do? You know what I forgot to do, chat? I forgot to turn this on. I was going to start trying to do this so that you could skip through the video if you couldn't catch it live and figure out where we got started. I forgot to do that this time. Okay, my bad. My bad, chat. But we are going to go ahead and get started right now. Anxiety recovery. It may not feel like it's working in the moment. So again, we've been focused pretty heavy on this topic for the past few days just because I see it happen so often. And I'm going to give an example from my own story, right? I'm going to give an example from my own journey. So way back in the day, when little old Wonder Bro was going through what he was going through, I made this mistake probably more than any of you. I made this mistake probably more than anybody else in existence. And that mistake being wanting that instant gratification and taking, learning about acceptance and starting to get into the attitude of acceptance, starting to get into that mindset of acceptance. Um, but but when I first started giving acceptance a try, I kind of treated it like popping a pill, right? I kind of treated it like popping a pill, which I see happen so often. So what would happen is, I would practice getting into this attitude, into this mindset of acceptance. Okay, today I'm using acceptance, today I'm practicing acceptance. And then when I would take a step back and say, okay, there's those feelings, I expected that. There's those thoughts, I expected those too. Today I am accepting, right? I'm no longer fighting, which means I'm no longer mentally getting up there and blah 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 this and blah 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 that. I'm just accepting the thoughts and feelings as they come. Great. That's a great start. But what would happen early on in my journey most of the time is when I didn't get that instant gratification, right? When I didn't get that instant removal of the symptoms, and when I didn't get that instant removal of the negative thoughts, I would think to myself something like, okay, well, this acceptance stuff is for the birds, or I'm not doing something right, or I would start to enter in back into the second fear. I would start to enter in back into the second fear mindset. I would start to enter back into the negative mindset. So, you know, I was under a very false assumption there for a while, right? I was under a very false assumption there for a while, and that assumption was if I didn't get the instant gratification, if the anxiety symptoms didn't immediately die down when I started, telling myself I'm accepting, I'm entering into acceptance, if I didn't get the immediate die down of the negative thoughts or the symptoms or whatever the case may be, then I was doing something wrong, right? Like that's what I falsely convinced myself of for quite some time. Right? Maybe my train of thought was a bit different, or than what your train of thought is, but that was the gist of it. I wanted the instant gratification so bad, and because I wasn't getting it, I would go right back into the same bad old habits. Because I wasn't getting it, I would convince myself some days that acceptance, I'm doing something wrong. Because I wasn't getting that instant removal of the negative thoughts and anxiety, I thought that there was something wrong. I thought that I was doing something wrong. I thought that acceptance was just a bunch of baloney, right? So it's such a common pitfall to want to treat acceptance like a pill. We take a pill and then we get almost not instant, but almost instant removal of the symptoms and the thoughts, right? And it is true that acceptance will bring you some relief, right? It is true that acceptance will take the edge off, but true healing, okay, and it might not even feel like it takes the edge off for you, depending on where you are on the totem pole, but true healing usually comes in time. That's not to say you can't have a quick recovery, but it is to say that true healing usually happens over time. So, you know, you don't want to base your progress. You're right. You don't want to base your progress off the way that you feel in the moment, and that's what the main point of today's stream is. You absolutely do not want to base your progress off of the way that you feel in the moment. You want to base your progress. Here's what you want to base your progress off of. You want to base your progress off of whether or not you continue to catch yourself fighting with these thoughts and feelings, which means to get up in your head and argue with it all, or fight with it all, debate with it all, whatever word you want to use. You want to base your progress not off the way that you feel in the moment. What you want to base your progress off of is how many times you catch yourself doing that crap, right? And taking a step back and reminding yourself, whatever little reminder you choose, whichever one you like best, as long as it's rooted in acceptance, reminding yourself, okay, I'm going to accept these thoughts and feelings. I'm going to be as okay with these thoughts and feelings as I can be. I may not like it. I may not like it, but thank you to these thoughts and feelings, but no thank you to getting involved, right? I'm just gonna accept you, embrace you for what you are. I know exactly what's going on here. So, I don't want you to drag it out for hours and hours. Okay, I want you to give yourself a little sweet, short, to the point reminder in those moments. I don't want you to obsess about it, but understand that you may have to rinse and repeat that a lot, especially if you're just getting started. You may have to rinse and repeat that a lot. You may have to take many steps back, right? And remind yourself, I accept these thoughts and feelings. So, you know, understand, guys, and I'm getting a little off track. You know me, I like to ramble. But understand that the main point of anxiety recovery and acceptance and rewiring your brain is not to base your progress off the way that you feel in the moment, because if you base your progress off the way that you feel in the moment, you're going to take a step back and say, oh, I'm fighting with these thoughts and feelings, I accept them. And then because you don't feel like a king, then because you don't feel like you're on top of the world, you're going to be like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, or oh, this acceptance thing is for the birds, right? And then you're going to go right back to the same bad old habits. So please do not fall for that. Do not start basing your progress off the way that you feel in the moment, because you're going to be triggered. You know, you're going to be anxious. You're going to be a little bit anxious or a lot anxious. You're going to have negative thoughts, and just because you start practicing acceptance doesn't mean that they're instantly going to poof, right? Like, it might take the edge off. You might get some relief, but you know, true healing usually happens over time. So don't base your progress on this journey off the way that you feel in the moment, because that is a surefire way to self-sabotage. That is a surefire way to fall right back into the same old bad habits that got you here to begin with. Because when you start basing progress off the way that you feel in the moment, oof, you're in for a slippery slope, because like I said, the brain learns over time. So if I start practicing acceptance and I don't feel 100% right away, right? And then I think that's because I'm doing something wrong, right? Or if I think that that's because acceptance is for the birds, then I'm going to fall right back into the same old bad habits, right? And that is why we should never, ever, ever, ever base our progress off the way that we feel in the moment. Rewiring a brain is something that typically happens over a period of time, right? Now, that doesn't mean that has to be a long period of time. That doesn't mean it has to be years, okay? It can be rather quick. But you should never, ever, ever base your progress off the way that you feel in the moment. Self-sabotage, okay? Self-sabotage at its finest. And I made that mistake so many times, and that is why I'm here, hoping to convince you all that you do not want to make the same mistake, right? I've made every mistake with this acceptance thing that you can possibly make, right? I've made every mistake with this acceptance thing that you could possibly make. So my main point of the stream, guys, one more time, it may not feel like it's working in the moment, but that's not the point, right? May not feel like it's working in the moment, but that's not the point. As long as you're keeping that accepting attitude and you're catching yourself when you're fighting with these thoughts and feelings, and you're taking as many steps back as you need and reminding yourself whatever you want your reminder to be, I accept these thoughts and feelings, then congrats, you are going to make progress. So I know you guys are probably getting sick of the subject. We've been on it so often here lately, but it's just so important. It's just so fundamental that I've been really wanting to drive it home. So that was the point of today's stream, guys. We're going to read some comments. Brian, what's up? I caught you live finally after a month. What's up, dude? Just last week, I had my worst flare in 5 years. Thank you for helping me, Wonder Bro. I'm not back to my baseline yet, but I'm better than I was. That's awesome, dude. Keep it up. Keep it up. What's up, Sanchez? Welcome, dude. My therapist said some of my symptoms sounded like neurology, probably took plenty of tests, triggered my symptoms to become worse. Learn more from YouTube than I do with my therapist. All she says is to work on your breathing. I'm not trying to deal with anxiety. I want to get away. I want to get it. I want to get it away. Okay. So although I understand where you're coming from, let's change that last little bit, because the more you say I don't want to feel anxiety, surefire way to self-sabotage. So understand something, right? It's all about that accepting attitude. And as far as your therapist saying that your symptoms sound like there's some other problem or whatever, but you've been tested, you've had plenty of tests. Okay, well you've done the test. All right, let's focus on what's important here, and that's this accepting attitude. Now, this is what's going to lead to true healing. So, that last statement where you say, "But I just want to get away from anxiety." Let's change that a bit. Let's change that. Okay, we're all here for acceptance. We're all here to rewire the brain, and of course, the end goal is going to be recovery. But in the meantime, let's change that statement. Let's not say something like, "Oh, but I just want to get away from it so bad," because that's second fear right there. That's the perfect example of second fear. The absolute perfect example of second fear. So let's take a step back and let's change that a little bit. I'm going to become as okay with these thoughts and feelings as I can be for the time being, right? That's something short, sweet, and to the point, and rooted in acceptance that you could go with. right? So when you catch yourself entertaining thoughts like, "Oh, I just want it to go away so bad," let's take that step back and let's put in that work of, changing our attitude from one of fight and resistance, second fear, to one of acceptance, because that's what's going to make you go to the next level. That's what's going to give you the most progress. And again, just like the title of this stream says, it may not feel like it in the moment, but the more you make that change of attitude from fight to acceptance, pat yourself on the back because now you're on the right path, right? And it may not feel like it. Again, main point of the stream right here. It may not feel like it in the moment because it takes some time for the brain to catch up, right? But you are on the right path. Rest assured, you are on the right path every time you take a step back and make that conscious change in attitude from fight to accept. And it starts with just a nice little reminder like, I'm okay with these thoughts and feelings, right? I'm gonna be as okay with these thoughts and feelings as I can be. I accept these thoughts and feelings, and then we go right back into living. That's the two main keys right there. Living your life because you're living it for you now, right? You're living it for you. You may not feel like it, but anxiety is no longer your boss, so you're living life for you, and you're no longer fighting with those negative intrusive thoughts. We used to say you're no longer following those negative thoughts. You can go whichever one you like the best there, but that's the two main keys. So to answer your question, you said it yourself. You've already had all the tests done, so let's not worry too much about, oh, it could be this or it could be that. Let's focus on the truth here, and let's practice that accepting attitude. I desensitize, but maybe because of stressful day at work, it comes back and stays very long. It's only going to drag on, drag on, drag on the more we fight and resist, right? Like either way, you're going to pull out. I believe in you. But understand something. The more you fight and resist, how's that old saying go? What we resist persists, right? So let's continue to work on that accepting attitude. Everybody in chat, I want you to be completely honest with yourselves right now. And I don't want you to be honest with yourselves for my sake, right? This is not about me. This is not going to help me at all. I'm already on the other side and I want you to come with me, right? So this is not about being honest with me. I want you to be honest with yourself. If I ask you the question, have you honestly, since you learned the advice, every single time a negative thought or an anxious feeling comes, have you honestly been taking as many step backs as you need and reminding yourself, I accept these thoughts and feelings, and then getting on with your life, even if you have to rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat that many, many times per day, have you honestly been doing that with consistency and dedication? If you cannot answer yes to that question, there you go. There you go. Now, I'm not saying anybody has to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. We're all human. I made plenty of mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and say that you have to be perfect in order to heal. That's not true. All I'm saying is, can you answer yes to that question honestly? Can you honestly say that you've been consistent and dedicated? And yes, granted, you may make a few mistakes here and there. That's perfectly fine. But can you honestly say, yes, I've been consistent and I've been dedicated to changing my attitude every single time, right? And practicing acceptance. Can you honestly answer yes to that question? If you cannot honestly answer yes to that question, then we found your problem. And that's not a bad thing. We found your problem, and the problem is you're not doing the advice, right? You're not practicing the advice, which is fine. But let's get back on board, right? Let's get on board now. What better time than now to get back on board? What better time than now to get back on board? So again, you don't have to answer that question for me. You don't even have to answer it in the chat. You just have to ask yourself that question. And if you can't answer yes to that question, then you found your problem on why you're not healing the way that you want to heal. You have found the issue. So you have found the issue. Even if bodily symptoms are high, Mix, because what good is fighting anxiety? What good has that ever done you? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You may not believe yourself when you say, I accept these thoughts and feelings, but that's the attitude you need to practice regardless, right? And it'll feel more natural and it'll become easier to do in time. That is the attitude we must practice because, again, what you resist persists and what you feed grows, right? That's a couple little sayings that you can remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing, which is practicing acceptance, right? All right, guys, we're gonna switch to the post stream for just a second. Your boy has not had a smoke yet, so we're gonna go have a smoke quick. I'm gonna pull up the comments on my phone so I can still stay with you guys. So I can still have you guys with me. Like I said, I know tonight's stream is a little bit later than what we normally do. I apologize for that. It's been a while since I've seen you, Migs. How you doing, dude? What's up, Ryder? It's good to see all these familiar faces. Good to see all these familiar faces. Probably just rocked a lot of people's world in chat when I asked them to be honest with themselves. Have I consistently and with dedication been taking as many setbacks during the day as I need instead of fighting mentally with all of this and saying, I accept these thoughts and feelings? Have you consistently been doing that, right? If you can answer yes to that, congrats, you're on the right track. If you can't answer yes to that, then it's time to start putting in the work. You know, there comes a point where it's got to be like, he's right. I've not been putting in the work. I've not been putting in the work like I should. I've not been consistent with changing my attitude from fight to accept. I've not been doing that. I've still been fighting with these thoughts. I've still been fighting with these feelings. There comes a time where you have to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And I'm telling you, that might sound like I'm being a little bit too much of a straightforward kind of person there. Maybe I should sugarcoat that a little bit. But there's no time, right? There's no time in the day to be sugarcoating this shit. It comes down to, have I honestly been putting in the work of changing my attitude from fight to accept, which means, have I honestly been going through my day, taking many steps back as I need when I have these thoughts and feelings, and reminding myself I accept instead of fighting with them? Have I honestly and consistently been doing that? And if you can't answer yes to that question, then you found your problem. And we can't point fingers at anxiety. We can't point fingers at the symptoms. We can't point fingers at the thoughts. If you can't answer yes to that question, you have found your problem. And if you want to see who is at the root of your problem, you have to grab the nearest mirror, right? So it's not that I'm trying to be a douchebag. You guys have to understand. It's that I suffered for so long because somebody didn't pick me up and shake me a little bit and say, hey, stop pointing fingers. If you can't answer yes to that question, which is, have I been taking steps back every single time that I need to and say, I accept these thoughts and feelings? Have I been doing my best? You don't have to be perfect, but have I been doing my best to do that? If you cannot answer yes to that question, which means instead of fighting with the thoughts and feelings, you take a step back and say, I accept the thoughts and feelings. If you cannot answer yes to that question, you have found the root of your problems. And there's no more pointing fingers at that point, right? Because I pointed fingers for a long time and I got nowhere. So somebody needs to ask you that question, and then you need to be honest with yourself, and then we'll go from there, right? And then we'll go from there. Nobody is shaming you. Nobody's saying, oh, how dare you? You can't answer yes to that question. Shame on you. I'm just saying you need to be honest, because now we can start to make true progress, right? Right? Everybody sees what I'm saying. Everybody sees what I'm saying, I hope. It's not about shaming anybody or throwing anybody under the bus. It's about, hey, you don't even have to answer in the chat if you don't want to. You can ask yourself that question and answer it in the privacy of your wherever you're watching this from right now. You don't have to answer in the chat. This question's not for my benefit, it's for your benefit, right? What's up, Craig? What's up, Terry? Hello, Wonder Bro. A little late to the party. What's up, man? Hey, better late than never, right? I'll be back to the face cam in just a second. Just a second. Having a little bit of a smoke break, and then we'll be right back at it. Then we'll be right back at it. Tough love is always necessary. I agree. I agree, and I do it out of passion. I do it out of caring about people's recovery. And you know, if you sugarcoat this thing and you say, well, you know, have you been taking your vitamins, right? Have you been practicing your self-care routine? Have you been doing your deep breathing, right? Have you been drinking your smoothies, right? Then we get nowhere. We get nowhere. We get nowhere because then we stay in the victim mindset, and we never hold people. We never hold people accountable for whether or not they are truly practicing acceptance. And if we never hold, you know, nobody held me accountable on whether or not I was practicing acceptance because I didn't have anyone to hold me accountable. Therefore, I pointed the fingers at everybody else for a very long time, which got me nowhere, right? But if you guys are here, you know, you've got somebody that can kind of hold you accountable, and that's me. I can try to, right? But at the end of the day, ultimately, you have to hold yourself accountable. But you get what I'm saying. If we beat around the bush, if we don't get people to answer that question, are you truly taking a step back, and instead of fighting with these thoughts and feelings, reminding yourself that you accept no matter how many times you have to do that a day, and then getting back to living. That's the two main keys, right? If we don't ask people that question and make them be honest about it, then they'll always point the fingers at something else, whether it's the symptoms, the thoughts, or, you know, and I was caught in that cycle for so long, and it's miserable. It's miserable. So I don't do it to throw anybody under the bus. I do it because I actually care about your progress, and that needs to be a question that's asked and needs to be answered honestly, right? At some point. You know, and some people might get offended by that, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate if anyone does get offended by that. Um, but you have to understand, you know, I just want to see you make progress. That's it. I just want to see you make progress. That's it. Even if that offends you a little bit, I, you know, I just want to see you make progress. That's all. That's all. That's all it is. So anyway, I'm going to simmer down from my rant. I'm going to simmer down for my rant, and hopefully the tough love does kick some people up a little bit and get them going. But other than that, how's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing tonight? Anything special going on? Tell me about your lives. Tell me about your lives. What's going on? I'm gonna check the Discord. See if we got anybody new over there. By the way, guys, the Discord is completely free. I know it seems a bit complicated if you're not used to it, if you've never used it before, but I promise there's no secret charge. It's completely free. It's free to use for anybody and everybody. Unless you sign up for like the Nitro or whatever, but that's completely optional. It is baseline free. Sorry guys, I'm typing out a message real quick. Alright, let's get back to the comments. I'm like multitasking over here, replying to some things in the Discord. That's another cool thing about Discord. I'm usually in there. I try to reply to everybody if I can. It's okay to have that crutch, you know? It's okay to have that little bit of support. Soon enough, you won't need it. Soon enough, you won't need it. Hanging out on the porch, being one with nature tonight. Stars are shining bright. Dude, I love it. I love it. What's the temperature here? It's almost 70 degrees tonight. I'm going to have to spend some time out there. I'm going to have to join you, Terry, after this stream. I love warm nights, dude. So peaceful. So peaceful. All right. Let's get back in here, chat. Let's get back in here. Too many mosquitoes out in Texas to hang out outside tonight. Yeah, I'm sure that's miserable, dude. I'm sure that's miserable. There's nothing worse than being eaten alive by mosquitoes. LOL, yeah, it's nice out tonight, just a little on the humid side. I live in Iowa, so it's to be expected, though. We don't really have to deal with a whole lot of humidity, but when we do, I hate it. I'll just be honest. I hate it. Humidity is one of those things that I can't really stand. Edward, what's up, dude? Welcome to the stream. Maybe I should practice acceptance with the humidity, right? I don't know. It's just one of those things I just can't stand it. Can't deal with it. Hope you've been doing good, Edward. Welcome, dude. Welcome, welcome. Letting the Discord know. Gonna send out one more notification that we're still streaming. We're still live if anyone wants to hang out. Even on good days, I enjoy catching you stream. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. That's flattering. You guys like the new haircut? You guys, if you've been here for a while, you know I like to rock the side shave, right? I've always been a fan. What do you think? You can't really tell. You can't really see it, but whatever. Thank you, Wonder Bro. The humidity actually gave fuel to my OCD. Can't stand the humidity. Yeah, I'm not a fan, dude. I'm not a fan. It's just uncomfortable. What's up, Excalibur? How's it going, dude? Let's get let's get a little bit of lo-fi going. Nothing too crazy. But since we're all just hanging out now, let's get a little lo-fi going. What you guys think? Wonder Bro been doing a pressure washing job today for my dad's client. Awesome, dude. Keep living. Let's turn this music down a bit. It's a bit too loud. It's a bit too loud, I think. There we go. Alright. Turn me up a little bit. Is that good? Is the volume good? Everyone okay with that? You look like a boss. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you. Recently had tons of anxiety about my girlfriend. It's gotten to the point where I want to end it, but I'm going to I'm going to the beach with her in a week, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with that situation. So, you know, there comes a point, right? Okay, there comes a point where it's not just anxiety. There comes a point where we have life situations that we have to deal with, whether or not it's an unhappy relationship that we're planning on ending, whether or not it's a big life decision that we have to make, right? So there comes a point where we can't always say, okay, you know, anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. There comes a point where it's perfectly normal to feel the anxiety you feel or feel the nervousness that you feel. And if you've been in a long-term committed relationship that you're now planning on ending, you might feel a bit nervous over that. And that's to be accepted. That's completely understandable, right? I don't want to be anxious the whole time, but man, I feel so blindly anxious. But I mean, that's what I got out of your comment, right? Gotten to the point where I want to end it. Yeah, so what I got out of your comment is that you're considering ending a relationship, and what I want you to know is that there comes a point in our lives where we have to say, okay, it's completely normal to feel nervousness, right? It's completely normal to feel nervousness given the situation. And I would say that would be one of those situations where it's completely normal to feel nervousness. So, you know, we don't want to live under the false assumption that, you know, throughout my entire life, no matter what I go up against, um, I should be 100% confident with no trace of nervousness whatsoever, right? There is times where it's perfectly acceptable and perfectly okay to feel nervousness or anxiety. I mean, it's always perfectly acceptable and okay to feel anxiety, but you get my point. There's times in our lives where it's like, okay, this should feel like this, right? Right? But I don't want to end it, if that makes sense. It's just that everything about her triggers anxiety of losing her, changing her for the worse. So yeah, so mainly your OCD seems to, and I say OCD, but don't get, you know, caught up on terms. Your OCD, your anxiety, a little bit of obsessive behavior involving your relationship. So your triggers, you could say, um, kind of cycle around your girlfriend, right? Everybody's triggers are kind of different, whether it be about your girlfriend or a bunch of what ifs or totally imagination. You know, there's tons of triggers about tons of different things, and it seems like yours involves your girlfriend. You say you don't want to end it with your girlfriend, okay, then don't. And just because you have these feelings or these triggering thoughts that are kind of circling around your girlfriend and things that have to do with your girlfriend, we should treat them the same as we treat any irrational negative thoughts. We don't give them fuel. We don't feed what we don't want to grow, right? We starve it out. And how do we starve it out? We just accept it's coming and going, right? Right? We just accept that it's coming and going. So, you know, regardless of what your triggers are about, we treat it all the same. Context is irrelevant. Now, it would be a bit different if you came to me and said I do want to end it with my girlfriend, but you just said yourself you don't. So that tells me you're just being a bit obsessive, and you just have triggers that are based around your relationship. We should treat them the same as any other triggers, right? At that point, we should treat them the same as any other triggers. We again, we don't feed what we don't want to grow. Let the internalize that for a bit. We don't feed what we don't want to grow. What's up, Jesse? It's good to see you, dude. Yeah, exactly. Cade's right. Always do what's best for you, regardless of the anxiety and triggers. So, again, you know, like I said, if you came to me and said, "Oh, I want to end this relationship," I would say, "Okay, well, it's perfectly normal to feel nervous about that, but do what you got to do." But if you come to me and say, "I want to end it," but I don't want to end it, it's just my anxiety talking. It's just I get triggered over it. Okay, well, then it's time to treat it like any other trigger, right? Right? It's time to treat it like any other trigger. How do you alleviate the fear of death? By first understanding that it's completely natural, right? So we tend to look at that as something that's unnatural, that's something that only happens to unfortunate people. But we have to understand, since the beginning of time, this is something that goes hand in hand with everything else. It's completely natural, right? So we have to normalize it. And we have to look at it for being natural instead of treating it like some phenomenon that only happens to the very unfortunate people. Instead, we have to look at it as a very natural part of life, right? That would be the first step to me. We have to normalize it. We have to look at it as a very natural part of life. Because you know, a lot of people walk around with the concept in their head that it's something that's very unnatural. It only happens to unfortunate people, right? And it's something to be, you know, avoided at all costs. Now, of course, you're going to want to live a long, healthy life to the best of your ability. But at some point, we do have to understand that it's a very natural thing. Instead of treating it like it's something that shouldn't be spoken about, it's very unnatural. It only happens to unfortunate people, right? So forth and so on. Hi, Wonder Bro. I've been doing super good. My repetitive thoughts have vanished magically. I love it when I hear the word magically because trust me, it wasn't magic. You've just been putting in the work of not fighting with it all, right? But it does feel magical, doesn't it? But I've been having disassociation, which I had it before. It was kind of like I don't care, but recently it's been mad. Like I'd be looking at my family and I'm like, who the F is that? But act like I know who they are. I'm like, hi, stranger, who I know is my brother. No, I get what you're saying. It feels a bit unreal. Understand that as you start to heal, you're kind of like a fish going into a new fish tank. It takes time. I heard someone say that. I forget who I heard say that. I'm pretty sure it was someone in the Discord. Um, I don't know where I originally heard that, but you are like a new fish going into a new fish tank. It might feel a bit strange to enter back into the world of the non-sensitized, right? That might feel a bit strange to you. You have to understand you've become accustomed to and you've become familiar with the sensitized state. So to enter back into the world of the healed might feel a bit strange to you and might make things seem a bit foreign. It's not like that for everyone, but it can happen because after all, like I said, you've been so used to living a certain way for so long and feeling a certain way for so long that now that you're back into the world of the normal, quote unquote normal, it might feel a bit strange to you. And that's probably all that is. It's so hard to explain. There's problems that can't seem to be solved, but I don't think it could. Well, every relationship can be stressful sometimes, right? Again, let's normalize relationships being stressful. Let's normalize, and some people hear that and they're like, well, relationships are not supposed to be stressful. They're supposed to be the absolute source of my happiness. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but sometimes, and I'm not talking to specifically you, but sometimes relationships are stressful, right? Right? Sometimes relationships are just stressful. When you have two people come together, and no matter how great it is, sometimes shit hits the fan. That's life. So we don't want to overcomplicate anything, and that's the same applies to acceptance. Acceptance applies to life. We don't want to overcomplicate anything. We don't want to, as Jesse said, feed the beast. We don't want to make things more stressful than they have to be. We have to come to terms with things, and that's the same concept for relationships. We have to come to terms with our anxiety. We have to come to terms with the negative thoughts we have. We have to come to terms with the fact that sometimes relationships are stressful. We have to come to terms with the fact that not everybody out there in the world is here to make you happy. We have to come to terms with the fact that life is life. We have to come to terms with the fact that there's good and there's bad, right, in life. Whether we're talking about stressful moments in relationships, whether we're talking about anxiety, we have to come to the terms with the facts that things happen. That things happen, whether it be stress in relationships or anxiety or negative thoughts. We have to come to terms with all of it and start to use acceptance, because then we eliminate suffering. So the fact that you might have some stress in your relationship, right, is not a bad thing. It doesn't have to be suffering unless we start to turn it into suffering. Same concept with acceptance, with anxiety, right? Acceptance really is key for life here. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make appropriate changes. That doesn't mean that you can't take action in your life. It just means that if things pop up in your life that are really out of your control, then there's no reason to suffer it, right? There's no reason to suffer it with resistance. There's no reason to suffer it with fighting, right? That's all that means. It doesn't mean that you can't take action. It doesn't mean that you can't make lifestyle changes. It doesn't mean that you can't make choices. It just means that if there's something that's out of your control, right, then there's no reason to suffer it. So that's really what acceptance is all about, and that applies to, relationships not always being peachy. That applies there too. Are you asking? Are you asking me if I schedule my streams? No, there's not really a schedule. Hey, Water Bro, lost all fear, but the pressure in my head just won't go away, and I truly accept it and need some advice, brother. I'm truly exhausted. So, I mean, if you've been cleared by a doctor, if if you know what you're dealing with here, understand that, when we say things like it just won't go away, right? We're just adding fuel to the fire. Now, I know it sucks. Some of these symptoms can be very uncomfortable, but, there's nothing really I can tell you that's going to make your head pressure go away. And I think you already knew that before you even made the comment, right? But understand that I know that sometimes we get desperate for relief, but that's the suffering, right? Some people say, well, no, if I didn't have the symptom, I wouldn't suffer. But understand that if you weren't desperate for relief and trying to fight it, then you wouldn't suffer, right? Oh, we've got some tips coming in. We got some tips coming in. Let me wrap up my point real quick, and then I'll see who those were from. So I think you already knew, Carlos, before you even made the comment, that there was nothing I was going to be able to tell you that would take your head pressure away. I think you already knew that. You were just desperate for relief, right? You were just desperate for relief. And I get that. But what I'm here to teach is that when you become desperate for relief and you start fighting with what is, mentally fighting with what is, you only suffer more than you have to. That's what I'm here to teach with acceptance. So although I can't give you something that's going to make your head pressure disappear, what I can tell you is this, right? Wow, there's just a lot of tips randomly coming in. I can't see them at the moment, but I can hear the dancing cloud. I will get to that in just a second. I can't teach you anything that's going to make your head pressure vanish, but what I can teach you is that when you fight with what is, you suffer more than you have to. So if you've been cleared by a doctor, yada yada, this, that, and the other, right? Understand that I can't make your head pressure go away, but I can tell you that you don't have to suffer it. Use acceptance. Truly continue to practice acceptance. I know you said you've been accepting, but let's drop the whole I want this to go away. Instead, let's say it'll go away when it goes away. That's a good little step into acceptance. So instead of saying I want this so badly to go away, let's say it'll go away when it goes away. See, that's a little change in attitude right there that's going to make all the difference in the world if you continue to dedicate to it. I know these symptoms suck sometimes. I wish there was something I could tell you to just make them vanish. I can't teach you anything that's going to make them just vanish, but I can teach you how to not have to suffer what is, which will lead to healing, which will lead to the symptoms dying down and going away eventually, right? So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. But holy crap, just an insane amount of tips all at once. You guys decided to send tips. So let's see what we got here. Terry with the $20 tip. Terry, thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much for all of your support, man. I love you. Fish with the $21 tip says, that's for helping this fish find his piece of the kingdom. I'm pretty sure that's Jesse. I'm pretty sure that's Jesse, but we'll say Fish. Sanchez with the $15 tip says, Wonder Bro, 5 stars. Hey, man, I appreciate you, dude. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of you, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are awesome. So let's see here. That takes us to, if my math is not wrong, 55 on the tip goals for tonight. So thank you guys for breaking the tip goal, man. I appreciate it. Let's see. Let's make sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Jesse. So Jesse, Sanchez, and Terry all decided to send a tip all at the same time. Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to Sanchez, Fee, and Jesse. Let's give a round of applause to Sanchez, Jesse, and Terry. Thank you guys so much. Why is everyone pointing at me? It could be Terry. Jesse, I think sometimes you forget that whenever I receive a tip, like you can type whatever name you want when you send a tip, but when I get it on my end, when I get the notification, I see your real name. So I'm on to you. I'm on to you, Jesse. I'm on to you. You gotta love it, dude. Hello everyone. So lately been experiencing more stronger thought from nowhere, but keep using the accepted methods. That's not making me fear all of it like before, whatever. So that's normally how this goes. You eventually start to drop the fear, but the thoughts still tend to linger. They will eventually pass, but the thoughts are usually the last thing to trickle away. Thank you, brother. We'll keep accepting. I'm all in. Appreciate you. I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I got your tip, Terry. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate all you do for the community. Excellent admin, excellent community helper over on the Discord. Terry's a good guy. I appreciate it, man. Sanchez, same applies to you. Jesse, you'll always be my homeboy, Jesse, all right? Hey guys, do you also feel when you think logically or talk, you suffer less using different part of the brain? I suppose, by the way, thank you for this channel. So I don't advocate trying to fight negative thoughts with positive thoughts, because usually then you just obsess for hours and hours and hours and suffer and fuel those negative thoughts. So I don't necessarily advocate for trying to fight negative irrational thoughts with positivity unless you keep it short and sweet and rooted in acceptance. Now that means if I have a negative thought, for example, oh, this bad thing might happen, and I simply respond to that by saying, I accept that I just had that thought. It's whatever. I'm going to get back to my life. Just a thought, whatever. If you keep it short and sweet and just give yourself an accepting reminder, that's fine. And that's what you should be doing. That's one of the two main keys. Don't fight with the negative thoughts. Just give yourself a little reminder to accept and move on with life. But if you're spending hours and hours and hours obsessing over a negative thought, trying to fight it with positivity, going through all the different possible outcomes and just really diving deep with it, all you're doing is making yourself suffer. You're using a bunch of unnecessary energy that you don't have to use. You are telling your brain that that negative thought is important. So do I think you should be logical? Like I said, I can't advocate for fighting negative thoughts with trying to be positive, because that usually just leads to hours of obsession. But if you want to take a step back when you have a negative thought and be logical by saying, I accept that I just had that thought, I accept these feelings, I'm going to get right back to my life, right? Just a thought. Then that's fine, and that's what you should be doing. But yeah, I don't think you should argue with negative thoughts for hours. That never worked for me. It doesn't work for most people. You're just using a lot of unnecessary energy and stressing yourself out. But, hey, if it works for you, I guess. But I've just never seen it work for very many people. I've never seen it work for very many people, I can honestly say. But maybe you want to elaborate a bit more on your comment. What exactly do you mean by when you think logically? What do you mean by that? Are you debating with your mind for hours, or are you just being short, sweet, and simple, to the point, dropping it, letting it go, not fighting with those thoughts and feelings? I put 600 and VChan and made 20,000 grand, so why not? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? I don't remember. Are we talking about crypto? Is that crypto? VChan? Alright guys, I'm going to switch to post stream for a second. Then I'll have a few days with somewhat strong symptoms, oh so close. Even on those days where you have some strong symptoms, dude, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly the attitude that you should have, right? You already know. Dude, that is awesome that you had such good success with crypto. Congrats, man. That's crazy. I've been telling myself that I'm gonna look into it. I just haven't. I'm gonna donate one day soon because I feel like you helped me out. You don't have to do that. It's always optional, but I do appreciate it, dude. I appreciate you thinking about me. But you don't have to feel obligated. You don't have to feel obligated to do that. I never want anyone to feel obligated to do that. Times are tough, dude. I get it. I get it. Always have to be thankful for our tippers, though. They keep us afloat, so we should always show the most, the most gratitude that we can to our tippers. They do it out of the kindness of their own heart. They know that it's completely optional, but yet they do it anyway. And like I said, it keeps us afloat. It makes me able to do this on a consistent basis, not have to go back to frying fish. So we should always be thankful for our tippers, always. What would you do if I donated 1,000? Could you put a sticker on your head that has my name? Dude, I would do more than that. I'm kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. I would 100% put some sort of sticker on my face. For $1,000? Yeah. Who wouldn't? You think I have you think I have the what's the word I'm looking for? Self-respect to not put a sticker on my forehead with your name if you donated $1,000? Fuck no, I don't have that. I would grab the biggest sticker I could find. But no, I do appreciate all of you guys. I really do. It means a ton to me. We are so close to that 10K mark, dude. So close. So close. Let me see exactly where we are. Can I check it on my phone? I know I can check it, but I don't know if I can get the exact number. You used to be able to get the exact number of subscribers, but now they've broken it down into like 9.2 some. I don't know. It's weird how they do it now. 9.92. So I'm assuming that means 9,900. Or 9,200 maybe. Who knows? I don't know why they do it so complicated. I mean, you can use your brain in different ways, at least for me. 1, automatic fearful thoughts cannot control. 2, logical thoughts you can control. Speaking. 3, silence, very difficult to use. 2 and 3. No, I agree with you. There's automatic fearful thoughts that you can't control. Completely agree with that. Logical thoughts you can't control, as in speaking. Completely agree with that. And then there's silence, which comes naturally over time the more you practice acceptance. No, I completely agree with all 3 of those things. You're absolutely right. So when we're using 2, which is logical thoughts that you can't control, aka speaking, I recommend keeping that short and sweet. And the reason I recommend keeping your logical thinking short and sweet is because when you get into the nitty-gritty with the negative thoughts, you tend to just argue with them for hours, right? So people turn logical positive thinking into obsession. It's so easy to turn logical positive thinking into obsession, right? It's so easy to do that. And that's why I recommend, if you're going to use logical thinking, keep it short and sweet and just say something like, you know what, I accept that thought, I accept these feelings, I accept the way I feel, I'm not going to fight with it, it's okay to have these thoughts and feelings, and then move on with your life. I recommend doing that because it's so easy to turn logical thinking into hours and hours and hours of obsession. You see what I'm saying there? It's so easy to do that. So easy to do that, man. It's so easy to do that. I used to do what I thought was logical thinking, but it was actually just unnecessary fuel to thoughts that didn't deserve any importance to begin with, right? Does that make sense? And that's why I say it's better just to not fight those thoughts, period. And if you're going to use logical thinking, keep it short and sweet. You know, I accept these thoughts and feelings. How long does the process take? I've been adding gas to the fire for a long time now. The good news is it doesn't take the same amount of time to heal. So if you've been adding gas to the fire for 10 years, it's not going to take 10 years for you to heal. The sooner you get going with taking those steps back each time you catch yourself gassing the fire and saying, you know what, I accept these thoughts and feelings, the sooner you get dedicated to that, the sooner you'll feel relief. And it doesn't take the same amount of time that you've been suffering, right? It'll happen sooner rather than later to start to see the progress, no matter how long you've been adding gas to the fire. So that's the good news. 10K party stream, we need to do something, dude. I don't know what yet, but we need to do something special. Something special needs to be done for the big 10K. Like a 24-hour stream or something. I know how it feels though, dude, when you say I've been adding gas to the fire for a long time. That was one of my concerns. Trust me, I've had just about every concern that you guys have now. That was one of my concerns. Oh, it's going to take me so long to get out of it because I've been gassing it for so long, but it just doesn't work that way. The brain is very capable of learning, and it learns rather quickly. Maybe not as quickly as we'd like, but it does learn rather quickly. It doesn't take the same amount of time for the brain to learn. You know, if, like I said, if you've been suffering for 10 years, it's not going to take the brain 10 years to learn, right? So that is the good news. Get started, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Get started, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Nightbot advertising the Instagram. That's not something I really talk about often. I probably should. I do have Twitter though. Twitter and Instagram. Vacate fear, guys. As king in the north, I will tell you the secret. Look at the mirror and smile and say, I got this. I got this. Hey, confidence will build over time, guys. Confidence will build over time. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to start with a whole bunch of confidence. That can come in time. You just got to start. Whether you've got all the confidence in the world or not, it'll work for you. Whether you've got all the confidence in the world or not, dude, it will work for you. Confidence will build over time. You don't have to start with all the confidence in the world. You don't have to start with all the strength in the world. You don't even have to start standing on your own 2 feet. I started from being pretty much bedbound, right? So you don't even have to start standing on your own 2 feet. You just got to start. Whether that's in little or big ways, you know, the 2 main keys: live your life. So if you're starting from bedbound, which doesn't happen to a lot of people, but let's say it does, you know. The fact that you're here now means you don't have to let it get to that point, but let's say you're at that point before you found the channel. Okay, if you just get up today and go take a shower, if you just get up today and eat a little bit more, if you just, something small, and while you're doing that, you're reminding yourself, I accept these thoughts and feelings, instead of fighting with them mentally, then congrats, dude, you've gotten started, right? That's all it takes, you've gotten started. Even if you don't start on your own 2 feet, literally, you can start from anywhere. You can literally start from anywhere with the 2 keys. Terry trying to get that hype train started, dude. Let's get back to the face cam. I understand when I use logical thoughts, I feel relief. On the other hand, I don't want to hide. My system is so sensitized to feel uncomfortable to do anything. Very normal. And also my brain is hyperactive. Very normal. So both things you mentioned there, very, very normal. Hyperactive brain, feeling very uncomfortable. This is all common signs of being in a sensitized nervous system. So my advice to you would be the same advice that I give to anybody that's anywhere on the totem pole. Whether you're just now starting out or you're close to recovery, doesn't matter, the advice doesn't change, right? And that's another beautiful thing about this. The advice remains the same no matter where you're starting from. So if you're starting from a position where you are very uncomfortable, right? Very uncomfortable and have a very hyperactive brain, or you're right around the corner from recovery, doesn't matter. The advice remains the same. The 2 main keys, dude. Live your life for you. Even if you have to crawl, live your life for you. And when those thoughts come, when those feelings come, instead of mentally fighting with it all, take as many step backs as you need and remind yourself, I accept. Even if you have to rinse and repeat that a lot. And you don't necessarily have to say, I accept. You can choose whatever you want. I just recommend that you keep it rooted in acceptance, obviously, and you keep it short, sweet, and simple. So you could say something like, I'm going to be as okay with these feelings and thoughts as I can be. Or you can say something like, I expected these thoughts and feelings, right? Or you can say something like, this will pass, but I accept it. It can stay as long as it would like for now, but it'll pass, right? Short, sweet, and simple is what I recommend. That way you're not spending too much unnecessary energy, which could be a big reason why you're so exhausted, and trying to manipulate these thoughts and feelings, right? Because that's very exhausting, and it's very stressful, and it's very tiring on your tired nervous system. So keep it rooted in acceptance and keep it short and sweet. What do people mean by find the root cause? I can tell you right now, okay, that the root cause of anxiety is your fight against it. So if you're looking for some sort of root cause for your anxiety, there you go. That's your root cause. The root cause is your fight against it, and Dr. Claire Weeks knew that better than anybody. Dr. Claire Weeks knew that better than anybody, and that's why she came up with the, first and second fear. She knew exactly what the root cause was. The root cause of your anxiety is your fight against your anxiety. So, if you're looking for a root cause, you found it. You have found it. Personally, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm just a guy who shares my knowledge about anxiety and gives my opinion, right? But personally, my opinion, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but my opinion on the whole root cause thing is that once we find whatever the apparent root cause is, which means if we dig really deep and find that something tragic happened in our childhood that sparked our fight, our internal fight, and led to anxiety, even if we find that thing, right? That's not going to magically make your nervous system desensitized. That takes time. That takes healing. That takes putting in the work of acceptance and no longer gassing the fire, right? So, in my personal humble opinion, the whole root cause thing, it may be interesting to find, but I think that's all it is. I think it's interesting, but I don't think, logically, it's not going to lead to a nervous system that just magically heals itself because you found that you had a tragic event happen in third grade, right? So, again, I'm not your therapist, I'm not your doctor, I'm not, I'm none of those things. I'm just a normal average guy. My humble opinion, the root cause of your anxiety is fighting your anxiety. It's and if you want to try to find some other root cause, I mean, be my guest, but you're still going to have to put in the work. You're still going to have to put in the work even after you find this apparent root cause. So that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. To be honest with you, Felix, again, the root cause of your anxiety is your fight against it, dude. It's not necessarily the negative thoughts. It's not necessarily the symptoms. These things are okay to have. It's when we start to fight against them and work ourselves up over them that we really start to gas the fire up. That we really start to gas the fire up. That's, you know, I'll say it 100 times. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I've got plenty of experience dealing with this crap. I've went through it myself firsthand, about as bad as you can go through it. I'm not trying to say I've went through it worse than anybody else. I'm just saying I know for a fact that I went through it just about as bad as you possibly can. And from that experience, I can honestly tell you, I never found any sort of root cause other than me fighting the thoughts and feelings kept the fire burning. So, you sent something about 5 minutes ago, Terry? Um, Man, it takes a while to go through. Sent a little more cash about 5 minutes ago. Let me see. I'll check it for you, but I don't think I've received anything yet. You might want to check on your end, Terry, and make sure they didn't like hold it for some reason or something. I don't know, but I have not gotten anything on my end just yet. I do appreciate it though. A big thank you in advance. I just have not received anything yet. Um, Why isn't this not basic knowledge they give you at the ER when you go for anxiety? I don't know. Acceptance is becoming more and more common these days, but it's still something that has not quite caught on as much as we would like it to. Does that make sense? Like, it's becoming more popular, but it's still something that's not as popular as I would like it to be. Hey, Wonder Bros, Puro the same as anxiety, and is recovery the same for both? So, you know, I've done a lot of research on everything from OCD to Puro to anxiety in general, and no matter what you're dealing with, whether you want to call it Puro, which is basically just obsessive compulsive in the head, that doesn't really have many signs of physical compulsions. For those of you who don't know what Puro is, that's all Puro means. But regardless of what we're talking about here, fighting the thoughts and feelings is just like Felix was talking about, wondering what the root cause is. That's going to be the root cause, whether you're talking about Puro or whatever the case may be. So if you have Puro and you've got a lot of obsessive compulsive thoughts and you feed those, well, you never should feed what you don't want to grow, right? And that same concept applies to even Puro thoughts or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I would honestly say that whether we're talking about Puro or anxiety in general, that it's all the same. It's all the same. When we use acceptance, when we don't fuel these negative thoughts and feelings by fighting with them, then we can teach the brain. Then we can start to teach the brain. That would be nice, Fee. Do you have some recommendations for daily habits? You got to just continue to catch yourself, dude. You've got to continue to catch yourself. You got to continue to take steps back and remind yourself when you're fighting. When you catch yourself fighting with these thoughts and feelings, you got to take that step back and say, all right, there I go again. Instead, I accept these thoughts and feelings. You got to keep catching yourself. A lot of this has to do with catching yourself, right? So my recommendation is to continue putting in that work, continue catching yourself. You have helped me so much. Thank you for that. I had gotten better for like 2 months and went straight down again. You just picked up some bad habits again. That's all it is. It's just time to continue putting in the work. That's literally all it is. You're not starting from the bottom. You're starting with experience. That's all it is, dude. You've just picked up some bad habits. Terry, there it is, bro. Terry, there it is. We just got it. Hey, Terry making it rain with the dancing cloud, dude. Terry with the $50 tip. Man, I appreciate you, Terry. I really do. I really do. You said you sent a little bit of an extra tip. I didn't think it was going to be that much. Holy shit, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Terry. Can we get a shout out to Terry in the chat, please? You guys have absolutely destroyed the tip goal tonight at 105. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Terry said he sent a little bit of an extra tip, but I did not think it was going to be that much. So I appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. I don't know why it took so long to go through for you. That's weird, but I got it. Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you, thank you. Hey, let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to shout out all of our tippers on today's stream, guys. Jesse, Sanchez, Terry, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Let's take a minute to show them some love and gratitude. Even if you just spam a couple emojis in chat, let's get it rolling. Let's show our tippers that we are grateful for them. Like I said, we should always do that. They do keep us afloat. They do keep us afloat. So we should, we should always be thankful for them. Even if you can't tip, that's perfectly fine. But let's at least show some love to the tippers. That's the least we can do, right? That's the least we can do. They do a lot for us. They keep us afloat. They keep the stream going. So let's show some love to them. Like when you hear somebody say just accept, it's like, okay, but when you give an explanation, it's like, oh, you're not just telling me to deal with it. Yeah, exactly. So when you understand that acceptance does involve putting in work, it does involve catching yourself fighting with the thoughts and the feelings mentally and taking that step back as many times as you need to and saying, okay, I accept these thoughts and feelings. When you realize that acceptance does involve putting in work, then you can get started, right? Then you can get started. Live and learn, man. Live and learn. That's right. That's right. Live and learn. What's up, Lynn? I remember you. I remember your name. It's been a while, I think. if I'm thinking about the same Lynn, how have you been? Nicely done, Terry, King of the North. Hey, yeah, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Terry, Sanchez, Jesse, I appreciate you guys so much. I really, really do. Thank you for the tips, guys. It means a ton to me. I'm gonna grab something to drink. Man, look at that tip goal. You guys are killing it. You guys are killing it. I appreciate it. Anytime. I do appreciate all you do, Terry, especially over on the Discord, being a community helper and being an admin, both on here and on the Discord. I appreciate all you do. And Jesse being the king of the north. I hear the dancing cloud. Who was that? Let's see, who was that? Jesse, dude, coming in with the 50. Man, you guys are crazy. Jesse coming in with the $50 tip. Man, I will update that as soon as I get back there. Thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much, Jesse, Terry, Sanchez. I appreciate you guys. Holy crap. Holy crap, that puts us well above like $1.50, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys. Seriously, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Terry again. Nah, Jesse. See, I'm not at my setup right now, so I had to check my notifications on the phone, which means you're busted. You're busted, dude. You can't pull that one this time, Jesse. You can't pull that one this time, dude. I appreciate you, Jesse. I really do. Yeah, dude, shout out Sanchez, Terry, Jesse, man. You guys have been awesome tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You guys have been long-term supporters here, and I really do. It really does mean a ton to me. It really does. I now have to go fight the Nightwalkers. Dude, Jesse, the amount of Game of Thrones references that you toss around here in the chat and on the Discord makes me want to watch it. I've never watched a single episode. I've never watched a single episode, but you're really starting to convince me. You can get more Hot Pockets. Now, dude, I love Hot Pockets. I can't even begin to explain my love for Hot Pockets. It's quite ridiculous. It's so easy. You just throw it in the microwave, 2 minutes, boom. You've got dinner. Right? And when you can't cook, that's a lifesaver. But you are right. You are right. I can buy more Hot Pockets now. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Seriously, though. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Setup. Let's get back to the setup. Get this updated. Let's see. We're at $1.55. Hold up, hold up. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Sanchez, dude. Sanchez coming through with the 45. You guys are crazy. What? What? That puts us at 2. That puts us at 2. Holy crap. Holy crap. Wow. Wow. What do you say to that besides wow? I appreciate it. Damn, guys. Seriously? Seriously? Why do I even have a tip goal anymore? You guys just come in and totally just stomp it. Stomp it to death. Why do I even have a tip goal? You guys are crazy, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's get some love in the chat. Come on, let's get some love in the chat. Let's see those emojis. I want to see those emojis flowing, man. That's insane, dude. Sanchez, Terry, Jesse, I appreciate you guys. Wow. The 3 horsemen coming in tonight, man. I appreciate it. For real, for real, for real. Damn. Why do I even have a tip goal? You guys make a joke out of the tip goal. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. A little bit of caffeine. Got to get a little bit of caffeine. I've already drank one of these today. Okay, but I get a pass because these are the mini bottles. They're the miniature bottles, so I get a pass. Just trying to fill that jar above your head. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what this is, because it just kind of randomly popped up one day, I don't even really know what it is. It's just some sort of tip jar, I guess, that fills up with whatever that is, coins or something. I don't know when it empties. I don't know what happens when it hits the... I don't know anything about it. It looked cool, so I clicked on it and added it. That's how that happened, but... I appreciate you guys so much, dude. For real, Sanchez, Terry, Jesse, man, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. It really does. It helps me a ton. It really does. It really, really does. Make it rain. You guys are making it rain, dude. I appreciate it. Ate Hot Pockets for a week. Was constipated for a week. There you go. There you go. I'm gonna get burpy. Happens every time I drink soda. I can't say eating Hot Pockets has ever constipated me, but let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because I do eat my fair share of Hot Pockets. So. Wonder Bro, have you ever watched Pokemon? I have. I was a huge fan of Pokemon when I was a kid. Growing up, that was like one of my go-to shows, but I haven't watched it in a while. But I used to watch it. I used to watch it all the time. What do you do for a living except YouTube? YouTube is what I do for a living. YouTube is what I do for a living. I started to make better money doing this than I did frying fish, so I was like, that's enough frying fish. Not going back to frying fish. Focus on YouTube full time. Which honestly, when I first started the channel, I didn't think that was going to be a possibility. I had no idea that it would one day lead to, you know, having somewhat popular streams and being able to actually make a living from it. So the fact that it kind of worked out that way, really nice. I enjoy it. Hopefully we just continue to grow from here, you know? It's all you can hope for. It's all you can hope for. And that's, you know, that's why I always say that we should be extremely grateful for our tippers, because YouTube is something that I would do regardless, even if I had to go back to frying fish. YouTube is something that, you know, I would do regardless, just because I enjoy helping people. But if I had to go back to frying fish, I would not be able to focus on YouTube full time. It would be something that I could only do occasionally, obviously, because I'd be too busy. So that's why I always say that we should be thankful and grateful for our tippers, because they make it to where I can consistently do this. Like when I wake up, I can consistently focus on YouTube. Like That can be my go-to. All right, guys, hold on, and I'll be right back. All right, we back. We back. I apologize for the interruption. Let's see here. Fix that. All right. All your time and dedication got to be worth something you deserve. I appreciate that, dude. I really, really do. I really, really do. I love what I do. I love being able to focus on it full time. And you know, some people might think, well, you know, you only do the streams, and then outside of the streams there's pretty much nothing else for you to do, which, you know, some days I do, you know, like take a day off from it or whatever. But even if we're not doing the stream, I'm usually doing something YouTube related, whether that's trying to push the channel, whether that's working on the Discord or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know, I'm usually doing something YouTube related. I'm usually doing something YouTube related, and I'm not saying it's a hard job to do. I love it. I absolutely enjoy it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's the best, you know, the best thing I could ever ask for. But all I'm saying is, you know, even outside the streams, I'm usually trying to do something for the channel, right? In one way or another. And if it wasn't for you guys, you know, Terry, the people that support the channel like you do, I wouldn't be able to do that full time. So I always try to be as grateful as I can for you guys. gotta turn the AC on, man. It's getting a little stuffy in here. But then it'll get too cold within like 2 minutes, and we'll have to turn it back off. You all will recover, just going to take some true dedication, practice, and time. You fall down, the dust yourself off, and get back up. I'm recovered, and I'm no one special, so you can all, so can you all. So can you all. I can't read today. Agreed, Terry. Agreed. I hate it when people, I hate it when people, look at me and give the notion that I must have done something special or that I am somebody special, you know, having recovered. It's just not the case. I'm your average, normal guy, right? So, if there's anyone in chat right now that thinks, oh, you know, Wonder Bro's done something special, or Terry's done something special in order to recover, something that I can't do, that is completely false. There's nothing special about me and Terry that says we can recover and you can't. There's nothing special about me and Jesse or anybody else in the chat that has recovered or made great progress that says they can recover and you can't. It's just completely false. You ever run into somebody that's recovered or making great progress here on the channel, don't think to yourself that they've done something that you can't do. It's just not true. Any tips to deal with morning anxiety? Same concept applies. Same concept applies whether we're talking about morning anxiety or anxiety felt at any time during the day. The two main keys are always going to be your go-to. Get up, get living, live your life for yourself, right? Live your life for yourself, and when you notice yourself mentally fighting with these thoughts and feelings, take a step back, remind yourself, I accept the way that I feel, right? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Whether we're talking about morning anxiety, or we're talking about this, or we're talking about that. If we're talking about anxiety in general, that will always be the advice. That'll always be the go-to. That'll always be the go-to. That'll always be the advice, whether we're talking about this or that. If we're talking about anxiety, two main keys. Also fix toilets. Yes. Yes. That job was not as hard as I thought it would be, honestly. Exactly, Jesse, exactly. I'm gonna have to give Game of Thrones a try, dude, at some point. At some point, I'm gonna have to cave in and give it a go. Maybe I'll start that at some point. Thanks, man. How long did it take for you to recover? Time frames are weird. Okay, let's just start out with that. Time frames are weird. So, for starters, they're different for everybody. They're different for everybody, and the moment you put yourself on a time frame is the moment you might as well push the self-sabotage button. Because if you put yourself on a time frame, then you're going to be going around thinking, okay, the anxiety hasn't left yet, it hasn't left yet, blah, 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 if you don't meet your time frame. Or you might go around and start thinking, okay, well, so-and-so recovered in this long, but it's been this long for me, I'm doing something wrong, I'm doing something wrong, I'm doing something wrong. There you go, you're already adding second fear. So drop the time frames. This is what I'll tell you as far as time frames are concerned. You take as much time as you need, because the point of acceptance is no longer fighting with the thoughts and feelings. So if I have current anxious thoughts and feelings and I tell myself, well, Wonder Bro recovered in this long, then I've already started fighting. See, it's that simple to start fighting, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So as far as how long it'll take for you to recover, right, you give yourself as much time as you need. It could be a month, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months. It really depends on multiple factors. Everybody's different. Are you dedicated to the advice? Are you taking as many step backs as you need during the day when you catch yourself fighting with the thoughts and feelings and simply reminding yourself, I accept these thoughts and feelings? Are you doing that? Are you doing that consistently, right? And then sometimes we just have to factor in the fact that everyone's different. Could take your nerves a little bit longer than my nerves. Could be quicker. Right? We just never know. So the moment you start getting involved in time frames, it gets really, really complicated. It gets really, really complicated. I don't recommend it. I cannot sit here and give you an honest estimate on how long it'll take. All I know is if you get started today, you will start to feel relief sooner rather than later. That's what I do know, right? That's what I do know. But if we're truly not fighting with the thoughts and feelings anymore, then it doesn't matter how long it takes, right? But I will tell you that if you get started, it'll happen for you and you'll start to see progress sooner rather than later. That's what I will tell you. But my biggest piece of advice is do not get wrapped up in time frames. Do not get wrapped up in time frames. You know, I hate to even say this because it makes it complicated, but you should start to see progress within a month, 2 months, right? It might take you a bit longer than that. Might not. You see how it gets really complicated? Because here I've told you a few months, but it could be 2 weeks. Here I've told you a few months, but it could be 4 months. You know, it just gets really, really slippery when we start talking about time frames. It really does. So to say the least, I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of time frames. You can watch my story video if you want more, you know, a more in-depth look at my story. But I'm telling you, don't overcomplicate it for yourself. Do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor, dude. Don't overcomplicate it for yourself. Because what could have took me a year to reach 100%. Now that doesn't mean a year to feel relief. I started to feel relief rather quickly, within like a month or two. But you know, what could have took me a year to reach could take you a month to reach. You never know. It's completely irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's completely irrelevant. What matters is whether or not you're using the advice. Time frame, irrelevant. Time frame, irrelevant. This is all really solid advice. I appreciate that, dude. I just, you know, I wish I could have answered your question more concretely, but there's really no concrete way to answer the time frame question. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. There's really no concrete way to answer the time frame question. It's just not really possible. Hi, please save this live. Just got here. Absolutely. This live will be uploaded. Unless YouTube decides to be weird about it, it will be uploaded. When the chat destroys the typical I appreciate that. It's completely destroyed. It won't even fit on the screen. I just noticed that. I'm gonna drop the link to Discord. I'm seeing new faces. You're trying to get the cats. I know what you're doing. Nova cracks me up. She'll stand right by my door because she knows there's cats out there running around. She'll stand right by the door and be ready, like she's ready to pounce. I don't know what she would actually do to the cats if she were to get a hold of one, and I don't want to find out because she doesn't realize how strong she is. I'm assuming she just wants to play, but the way she charges at them, it freaks the cats out and the cats go crazy. So, but she knows there's cats out there, so she'll wait by my door, wait for me to come back in. And if I don't catch her, if I'm not quick enough, when I open that door, she will pounce and she will get right by me and she'll go after the cats. She's never been able to catch one. She's never been able to catch one, thank God. But I try to avoid seeing what would happen if she did catch one, because I really don't know. While you've been making vids for half a decade, and even though you're not the most popular YouTuber, you still stick at it. That's pretty admirable. I have been making videos for quite a while now, 3, maybe 4 years. I don't know. Time is flying by. 3, maybe 4 years. We're just about ready to pass the 10K mark. Like, it's right around the corner. So it's been a long grind, dude. It's been a long grind to 10K. But the fact that we're about to hit that 10K mark, I'm excited. I'm excited. Normally YouTube is kind of like a snowball effect, right? The more subscribers you gain, the easier it is to gain. So the more you move up, the easier it is to continue to move up. So we're just gonna stick at it. We're just gonna stick at it, keep going. Are you married? I am not married. I am not married. I am a single Pringle. So if anybody wants to change that, you know, hit me up. Hit me up. All right. See, that's the thing, dude. That's the thing. Like, we may not have 1 million subs yet, but the community that we do have here on the channel, great, amazing people. Great, amazing, supportive people. I wouldn't trade my little community for the world. Quality over quantity, right? Quality over quantity. For anybody wondering who Nova is, with that little story that I just told, Nova is my pit bull. She's down there. She's down there in the corner. Right down there, the little gift that looks exactly like her. I forget now the name of the person who made that for me, but shout out. You know who you are if you're watching this. Shout out for that. So you're gonna watch it, we won't see you for a week. I mean, from what I've heard about the show, it's addictive. So if I do start watching it, I may disappear. Thank you for your help. I appreciate that, Leon. Thank you for watching. There's plenty of other anxiety-based channels out there, so the fact that you decided to go with mine, I appreciate that. Nova is a wolf. She will aid me in the fight against the Night Watchers. Yes. Yes. She's so strong, dude. She doesn't realize how strong she is. She's broken like every leash, every collar. I mean, I eventually had to invest in a really expensive harness for her that she has not managed to break yet, but we'll see. Time will tell. You are very loved and you've stuck around because I do think you care about people. I do. Is Nova a pitbull? Yes. Yes, she is. Let's see if we can get her over here. Nova. Come on. Come on. You just gonna lay there and look at me? No? Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. Come on. Good girl. Come on, people want to see you. Come on. Jump on up. Jump on. So any other time when I don't want you to harass me during streams, you will. But when I want your attention, it's a no-go. So this is Nova. Let's see here. Nova, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Okay, let's see. Oh, come on. Oh. Alright, so you can see she looks exactly like the little GIF down there. Like it couldn't have been any more accurate. With your big old ears. With your big old ears. Say hello to everyone. Come on, Miss Antisocial. When I don't want you to harass me during streams, you make it a point to harass me during streams. But when I want to harass you during streams, it's so inconvenient, isn't it? It's just so inconvenient. So she's a big old girl. She's a lap dog. She thinks she's a lap dog, but she's definitely not. She just believes she is. She just believes she is. I appreciate that, guys. Recommending my channel. I do appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. You want to say hi one last time? Nope. Okay. You're going back to... Okay, yes. Make up your mind. Come on. Come on. What are you doing? Come on. You're wagging your tail. She's just being lazy today. My mind was immediately telling me that that's a big problem and I couldn't do anything. So whether or not, did you take a step back when your mind told you that and say to yourself, I accept these thoughts and feelings, and then get back into living and rinse and repeat? Or did you start fighting with that? If you cannot answer yes to that question, that you did take a step back and say something like, I accept these thoughts and feelings, and then got back to living. If you can't say yes to that question, you have found your problem and you need to start working more on the advice, right? And again, I don't say those things to kind of throw you under the bus and be like, oh, shame on you. I ask you that question because I want you to be honest with yourself so that you can help yourself, right? Are you fighting with these thoughts and feelings, or can you honestly say that when you had that thought that you took a step back and said, you know what, I accept these thoughts and feelings, not going to fuel it, get on with my day? If you can't answer yes to that question, then you have found your problem and it's time to start working on using the advice, right? And again, I don't say that to throw you under the bus. I say that so that you can help yourself, right? But anyway, welcome to the stream, Arnold. Hello, Nova. Yeah, Nova's being lazy today. She's normally so full of energy, but I don't know, she's been napping. Is that right, Nova? Been napping? When you were going through your anxiety journey, did the people around you get annoyed of you? Not really, because I'm already like somebody who stays to myself. I'm not like a social butterfly. Don't get me wrong, I love people. I love being around people. I used to be extremely shy, but not anymore. Like I love being around people, but it's just a personality trait that I like to kind of stay to myself. I'm kind of more of a laid back person. So, you know, people knew that. They've always known that. So when I was going through my anxiety journey, I just became even more of a to myself person. I didn't really tell people what I was going through. I stayed to myself. I didn't really bother anybody. So they didn't really get annoyed with me because I never opened up about it. I never really told anybody about it. I never really expressed myself. I stayed to myself. I suffered alone. I didn't tell anybody anything. So they really never had the opportunity to get annoyed at me. Because I kept it all to myself. So that I would need to take pills again like last year, but I was worse. I think it did help me. Everything was worse because of it. Maybe my sleep was a little bit better. Still got to ask yourself that question. You know, I know you got a lot going through your mind right now, but I still want you to ask yourself that question. I still need you to ask yourself that question. I know your mind is running a mile a minute right now with all this bullcrap, but I need you to take a step back for 2 seconds and ask yourself that question. When I woke up with these thoughts, did I take a step back and say to myself something like, I accept these thoughts and feelings, and then got on with my day? Did you do that? I need you to, you don't have to answer that out loud. You don't have to comment it. You just have to ask yourself that question. Can you honestly say that you did that when you woke up with these thoughts? If you can't say, yes, I did that when I woke up with these thoughts, well, then you found your problem and it's time to start using the advice, right? And I know I've already said it 100 times, but again, I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying you need to ask yourself that question, and you've got to be honest with yourself when it comes to that question. If you can't answer yes to that, then you found the problem. You have found your problem, and it's time to start putting in the work with the advice, right? My roommate used to be annoyed by me crying, being emotional, being sensitized. He kind of accepted my mental health problems now. Yeah, so people that's never been through it, they have a hard time understanding. And everybody's different. Just because I stayed to myself and didn't express myself to others doesn't mean you guys do the same. So if you're the kind that likes to express yourself, maybe you do have people in your life that are getting annoyed at you, okay? But that's because they don't understand where you're coming from. And that's something you should not take personally. I want you to imagine for a second that you never became sensitized, that you never dealt with high levels of anxiety. Would you then be able to understand it when somebody else was going through it? Of course you wouldn't be able to understand it. If I never dealt with sensitization in my life, and I got on here doing live streams, and you guys said half of the things that you say, I would be like, what's your problem? I don't understand where you're coming from. Why is that a big deal? So what? You had a thought. Woo. Right? Or if if I got on here and live stream doing what I do now, but I had never been through it myself, half of the things that you guys say, I would be like, can't relate. What do you mean you had a thought and that gave you anxiety? Big fucking deal. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to relate. I wouldn't be able to understand. I'd be like, what's the problem? Why are you having problems? So that's the way you got to look at it. It's not that they're purposely trying to be spiteful or mean. They just literally cannot relate to why having a thought throws you into anxiety, like with high levels of physical symptoms. They've never experienced any of that. So it's not that they're trying to be mean. It's that they literally don't understand. They're not trying to be mean. They just literally cannot relate. So my best advice for you is do not take that shit personally, because again, you got to put yourself in their shoes. I know it's easy to say, well, they need to put themselves in my shoes. Well, you got to put yourself in their shoes too. If you've never dealt with sensitization and somebody came to you and said, I just had a thought that I might go crazy and now it's got me totally filled with anxiety and the symptoms are so strong, but you had never experienced it yourself, you'd probably be like, okay, it's just a thought, dude. Who cares? Right? Like, you would not be able to understand. You literally would not be able to physically understand or mentally understand, I mean, right? So you got to put yourself in their shoes too. I know that's easier said than done because you just wish that they would have more compassion, but it's just they cannot mentally grasp what you're going through, and that's not their fault. What I did, dude, 2 main keys all the way. Always and forever. Right? 2 main keys, dude, all the way. Live your life for you, not for your feelings. And when these thoughts and feelings come, if you catch yourself fighting with them, you've got to be honest with yourself. Am I taking a step back and saying I accept these thoughts and feelings, or am I fighting with them? You've got to be honest with yourself. Got to be honest with yourself, dude. That's, I'll probably dedicate an entire stream to that here soon, because that's so important that you're honest with yourself. I know the advice, am I using it? And that should be followed by a completely honest answer, self-reflection. top 5 bizarre symptoms video the other day. I mean, think of it about it like this. If you had never been through anxiety yourself and somebody came to you and said, I'm scared of my own reflection, you'd probably say, get over it, right? You wouldn't be able to relate. You'd be like, okay, well, that's silly. And you would just brush it off. And you'd be like, oh, they're overreacting, right? You wouldn't be able to relate. So I hope you guys don't take it personally when you've got people in your life that just can't relate. It's not that they're trying to be an asshole, it's just they literally can't comprehend it. And do you feel depressed in these days? You gotta understand, dude, you're always gonna be a human, right? You're always gonna have your off days. You're always gonna have negative emotions. You're always gonna have negative feelings. You're always gonna have negative thoughts. Every human in the world does. It only becomes a problem when you work yourself so much, when you work yourself up so much that now it affects your daily life and you become what we call sensitized. Then it becomes a problem, right? It's not necessarily a problem, but it becomes an issue. You get what I'm saying? So as a human, you're always going to have emotions and feelings and thoughts. It's what you do with them that's going to determine whether or not you work yourself up to a point of sensitization, or whether or not you roll with the punches, right? Most people know how to roll with the punches. People who become sensitized, they never really learn how to roll with the punches. They had to learn it themselves. But this is good life advice. And I say that because, like I said, you'll always have negative emotions and thoughts on some days, right? But knowing what you know now, you know how to handle it. And just because you're not healed yet, you think to yourself, well, this is not good life advice, I just want to heal. Once you heal and you step back into the world of the living, right, you'll still have this advice. So you've got a notch up on everybody else in the world, even the people who've never become sensitized. You're going to feel better than they do because you know what you know now. But yes, it's completely normal to have negative emotions. It's what you do with them. It's whether or not you fight them and fuel the fire, right? That determines whether or not it becomes a true issue. So I agree with you, Terry, 110%, dude. I don't tell people, but the ones that I live with me know, because they see me at my worst. Once I asked to take me to the hospital, and on the way there I was getting screamed at, it's all in your effing head. When are you going to stop being this way, this and that, and only raising my anxiety even more. Yeah, so people that don't know how to deal with it, I mean, we just have to accept that they don't know how to deal with it. Acceptance really covers everything, right? Even the fact that people that have never experienced this thing will never know quite exactly what you're going through. And as unfortunate as that is just reality, right? So I understand where you're coming from. I could see how that would happen, but you really have to put yourself in their shoes. They can't relate, you know. It's they lose their temper. It's not because they want to. It's because they themselves don't know how to handle their own feelings. They may not be sensitized, but they still don't know how to handle their own feelings. They get frustrated. They're under a lot of pressure, and they just don't know how to handle it. And it's not something that should be taken personally. We just have to realize that they can't relate, right? Right, so, and don't get caught up on labels, guys. I know that we throw the term sensitization around a lot. Don't label yourself too much. Yeah, you might have a tired nervous system, but don't think to yourself, oh, I've got so much work to do, I'm this big sensitized person, you know. Don't get into all that. Just accept the thoughts and feelings, right? Don't start labeling yourself too much as this big anxious person. Let's drop as many labels as we can. Yes, we have to use terms like sensitization to get our points across, but let's not carry it too heavily. Let's not paint this picture of who we are, right? Let's just continue to use acceptance. You don't want to paint this big picture in your head of, oh, this is who I am and I've got so much work to do and yada yada yada, because there again you're already getting too involved. You're already fighting too much. So I wouldn't label yourself too heavily. That would be that's a nice little tip to kind of throw out there, Laystream. I wouldn't label yourself too heavily. Caught a stream again. What's up, Gordon? I hope you're having a great day, night, whatever time it is where you're watching from. I hope you're having a good day. have to accept the bad with the good. I mean, as human beings, we're always going to have negative feelings or thoughts. It's what you do with them that determines whether or not that becomes an issue, right? Having the negative thought or having the negative feeling is not an issue in itself. A lot of people confuse that. They think having the negative thought or having the negative feeling or having the negative thought is an issue. That's not an issue. It only becomes an issue if you make it into an issue by fueling it, fighting with it, etc., right? That's a good little quote. The feeling and thought is not an issue. It's only what you do with it that determines whether or not it becomes an issue. Good little life quote to live by there. Write that down. Somebody write that down. I'll probably tweet that out later or something. Alright guys, I'm going to drop the link to that Discord one more time. We got somebody new over there. Who else wants to join us over on the Discord? I try to be in there on and off pretty much all day, guys, so if you want to join us over there, please feel free to do so. It's completely free to use. Free to download, completely free to use. They've got like a Nitro membership you can sign up for, but that's optional. So I recently developed Hero, and it has been really difficult to accept the type of intrusive thoughts that come with it because I feel shame, unlike the thoughts I had with health anxiety. So understand one thing, context is irrelevant here. Don't get too caught up in context. Like, so for example, I overcame my health anxiety, now I have Hero thoughts, and I feel shameful. I shouldn't be having these thoughts. So you're too focused on context. Regardless of what pops up in your mind, understand that you didn't choose it, so it's not your responsibility. You didn't choose it, it's not your responsibility. Once you take responsibility for the random nonsense that your mind spits out at you, now you feel a sense of responsibility like you have to do something about it. So you feel shame and guilt and you start fighting it. And then you just fuel the whole thing. You tell the brain these are important. The more you fight. So drop the context being relevant. The context is totally irrelevant, right? And let's treat it the same as we did with health anxiety thoughts. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So, drop the context being relevant. Drop the context being relevant. Yeah, but I don't want to lay in bed because I feel worse. I don't do anything, but if I do, then I'm so tired. See, either way, you're like in your mind coming up with reasons why you can't. So already before you've even got on the starting line, you've already told yourself, well, if I do this, this happens. If I do this, that happens. You're too involved. You're too deep into the BS, right? So let's stop telling ourselves stories. Let's accept these thoughts and feelings for what they are and drop this big novel that you've wrote about it, right? So you've got this big self-narrative that says, well, if I do this, then this happens, or if I do that, then that happens. You've got this big novel, you've got this big narrative that you've started to write, and now you've painted yourself as this person who can't do this because this happens, can't do that because that happens. You've got this big story, this big narrative, this big novel, this big story that you're so involved in. Let's drop all of that for a minute. And let's continue practicing dropping all that and accepting the thoughts and feelings when they come. Even if you got to give yourself a reminder 1,000 times a day, it's time to put in the work, right? I accept these thoughts and feelings going to get on with my life. And then the brain says, well, you can't do this because then you'll be too... Take a step back. I accept that I just had that thought. I expected to have that thought. Going to get back into my life now. So you see how you got to rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You got to put in that work. So let's drop the big self-painted narrative that you can't do this because of this and you can't do that because of that. Let's drop all of the story that you're telling yourself and let's start the process of getting going with acceptance, right? Even if that requires a bunch of rinse and repeat reminders, I accept these thoughts and feelings back to my life now, right? 5 seconds later, oh, there's that thought again. Okay, I expected that back to my life now, right? So let's drop the big narrative, let's drop the big story that you're living in, and let's get going, right? Let's just get going. It's time to drop the big narrative and just get going. It's time to drop the big story and just get going. Again, don't dwell on the feelings, yeah. So, you know, we can continue to paint this picture of who we are day after day, or we can just get going, with acceptance, even if that means we have to rinse and repeat, give ourselves a million reminders. When we notice that we're fighting with the thoughts and feelings, we take a step back and we say, I expected these thoughts and feelings to be there. Back on with living now, right? Even if we have to do that 10 seconds later. It sure beats the alternative, which is hours of obsession, a big long story, right? So time to drop the big narrative that you're telling yourself, that you're selling yourself. Time to drop all that for a minute and just get started with it. And just get started with putting in that work. And I say work because it feels like work at first, but it'll become more natural and much easier to do as you practice it. But you got to get going at some point. You got to get started at some point, right? All right, guys, we just passed that 2 hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I did not think we were streaming for 2 hours. This has been a long one. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. Truly, I do. Thank you so much for all that you do. I love you guys. Again, thanks for watching. Make sure you like the streams if you enjoy them, and I will see you in the next one. And until next time, as always,